And we are recording with Miss Claire Lopez on Friday, November 3rd, 2023 at 1:05 p.m. Eastern Time. Everyone's watching. I apologize. I haven't put out shows since Monday. I've just been sick. And as I was just telling Miss Lopez, I have to get up and do something. I'm starting to go it is like when you're like a kid. The first day of being sick is kind of fun, not going to school. You're like, I get to lay in bed and do nothing. And then, but by like the second and third day, you're like, this is not fun. I'm just bored. I want to go to the gym. I want to do podcasts, but I feel like crap. But enough about that because nobody cares, least of which me. Miss Lopez, how are you doing?
I am very well, thank you.
Um, can you, and for everybody, please go in the description. You can follow Miss Lopez on Twitter and you can find the links to all of her writings. Can you maybe clarify? I know it's not recent, but have there been increased I guess interceptions of ballistic missiles going into Israel?
No, there are no ballistic missiles going
Oh,
into Israel at all. The missiles that have been launched from time to time over the northern border with Lebanon from Hezbollah more often are rockets, some drones, but no, not ballistic missiles. And of
okay.
course, Hamas does not have ballistic missiles either.
Oh, I thought I must have misread that. Yeah, because I was gonna say, yeah, ballistic, that normally implies like ICBMs, which one, I don't think they have, and two, I don't think they need in that close of
Well,
a
Hezbollah
proximity.
does have,
Okay.
reportedly a large stockpile, maybe as many as 150,000 missiles, at least some of which have precision guidance systems on them. But these are not the ones that are being launched and lobbed over the border in a kind of harassment, ever since October the 7th. And many of those that are launched are rockets and they're drones and they're being intercepted or they fall in empty fields and that sort of thing. Also, though, Israel has evacuated a good part of its northern area near the Lebanese border and moved people from villages near the border further south to safety, just in case.
Um, and other than that, what has been happening? I know that how has the potential, I guess, all out ground invasion, what is the status of that?
Well, let me continue with Hezbollah
Oh
for a
yeah, sure.
moment,
Yeah, go for it.
and then we can go down to Hamas and Gaza. But two things have happened this week. One was about a day, or maybe it's 2 days ago. Um, Hezbollah released a very short video. It was only 12 seconds long. And it was the image of Hassan Nasrallah, the Secretary General of Hezbollah, in a room walking past a wall that had a great big Hezbollah flag on it. And as he walked past the flag, he turned his head and looked at the flag. And then he walked past, and that was the end of the video. And of course, it sent the observation world
Yeah.
into a tizzy, as it was probably meant to do.
Yeah.
Um, but there was all kinds of speculation because that came in advance of this morning's Friday, the what day are we at?
Third.
The 3rd of November, speech by Hassan Nasrallah, which I subjected myself to. It was carried live on Al Jazeera with simultaneous English translation, so that's how I could listen to it. And everybody was speculating after the short video, what's he going to say? Is he going to announce an invasion? Is there going to be, another front, a northern front opened against Israel? And of course that's what the earlier video was intended to do, send everybody,
Mm-hmm.
into hysterics. Well, as I listened to this more than an hour long rant by Nasrallah this morning, um, it was he who was absolutely hysterical, shrill, hysterical, screaming for over an hour. And I can boil the speech down to basically two takeaways, I think, that might be helpful for our watchers, our listeners. The one, no, Iran had absolutely nothing to do with anything, never did and never will. Take Iran out of the equation. And number two, go guys. Houthis, go for it. Hashd Shabi in Iraq, go for it, you guys. Yeah, rah rah Hamas, but yeah, Hamas, you're on your own. That was the speech.
That was it.
Yeah.
So what is that? So Iran has nothing to do with it, but go for it.
Well, you guys, the jihad proxies of the Iranian regime, you go for it against, the shaitan kuchak. That means in Farsi the little Satan.
Okay,
And the shaitan bazorg, which means the big Satan.
that's
That's
us.
but no, we're not going to get involved. But everything's on the table. Everything's on the table. Yeah. Okay. Now, I might ought to add, yes, the whole thrust of that speech could be a diversion. It could be a psyop, info
Yeah.
op to lead us in the wrong direction of conclusions. Yes, that's perfectly true, and we'll have to wait to see. But all that said, Israel has got thousands of its IDF troops massed on the northern borders. We said they've evacuated a number of kibbutzim and towns, villages near the northern border with Lebanon. So they're not going to be taken by surprise again, as they were on October 7th, the morning of the Shabbat massacre. But that was my takeaway from the speech this morning.
Not, and I mean, as this sentence is like almost Mad Libs, and that it applies to every guest I have on, whether it's like Delta Force or brain surgeons or as an armchair expert in this. But that does seem to be like an odd diversion, right? I mean, on the face value, there's almost some comedic, you guys go first. I'm following you. Like,
Right
you're gonna
behind
go,
you guys.
yeah,
We're right there.
go right into the meat grinder of the IDF.
And look how we're harassing the Israelis on a daily basis. We're shooting some rockets and we're trying to make incursions over the border. Yes, they're all dead now, but we tried. And I mean, honestly, it does seem to me like this speech's script was emailed over from Tehran.
Yeah. No, and so my point is like, when it seems that goofy, I then have to go, well, then why did it get cleared? And that makes me think that, the real meat and potatoes was probably sent privately. And then this is some, is there any clarification of the video? The 12 seconds, look to the left. Is there
a lot of speculation, as one might imagine. But I haven't really heard or seen much serious analysis of it. I think it might have slipped by a lot of folks, and I only saw it because somebody pointed it out to me. And again, it's so short, I don't know what the conclusions might be about it, but it was issued in advance of this morning's speech by Hassan Nasrallah, and may well have been intended as a save the date. Be sure to watch the speech, and you'll find out what this was about. I don't know beyond that.
Or tie up resources, have a bunch of analysts looking at it, and there's nothing to do it.
Yeah.
And then for someone like me that is completely uneducated and inexperienced in all of this, I mean, you have the division seems so, and not just the obvious division, the one in the Middle East, but I mean, back here in the United States, the division is so sharp in terms of it being a partisan issue of, like, there's this girl I'm friends with who I have truly not seen since college. I mean, it's been 10 years, and she texted me and she's like, you talk to a lot of people on your podcast. She was like, what do you think about the whole, Israel, Hamas? And she's like, what side are you on? I was like, well, Israel, because I think, they're, think Hamas is just barbaric. You're an asshole. Like, Israel is the oppressors. And I was like, why did you even ask me? Like, what was the point of that? But it's just so, it's so chaotic. What is why is it so
Yeah.
I mean, at the
It takes us aback a bit, doesn't it? To
yeah,
watch all of these people in the streets, on our city streets, and
yeah,
to watch especially these young people
at like
um,
Harvard
on the
attacking
campuses,
Jewish people.
and even your friend who's not in college anymore, but
No,
um, yeah, the vicious, venomous anti-Semitism, Jew hatred, um, is really something we have got to pay attention to over here.
yeah,
Um, when Jewish students at Cooper Union have to barricade themselves inside of a library because students who want to hurt them, maybe kill them, are banging on the doors trying to get in from the outside. Cornell University, where hateful messages were directed at Jewish students, threatening their lives, threatening to kill them. Um, Something is really wrong on our campuses. Let's start there, and I'll tell you what I think has happened. We've talked before on your show, Tommy, that going back all the way to the 1950s, with the publication of W. Cleon Skoussen's book, The Naked Communist, and
hmm,
chapter 13, that's called The 45 Goals of Communism Today, meaning 1958, included a very important one that I always highlight, and it's number 17, that says, get a hold of the curriculum, the students, the schools, and the teachers' unions, the teachers' associations. And so what I'm talking about there is the Marxist communist influence on campus that uh, people were aware of, certainly in the wake of the 1917 revolution in Russia, and after that, certainly Stalin's Soviet Union after World War II, and the congressional hearings that the book, Skoussen's book, basically take off after those hearings in Congress in the early 1950s, the House on Un-American Activities Committee, and then on the Senate side, Senator Joseph McCarthy's committee, very much aware of the communist Marxist threat. And yet that kind of went away. And in the 60s, we allowed these little brats to overrun the campuses. They were Marxist, Maoist, communist, even if they themselves didn't know it, because of course they didn't know much of anything. But that turned things around. And then what you look at is those little brats grew up to be themselves professors and teachers,
hmm,
on our campuses and the universities. And so the cycle continued of generation after generation, inculcating our students on campus with hatred of America, the belief that America somehow is a force for ill in the world, the belief that somehow communism is the answer to all of this. Of course, they've never studied communism; they haven't a bloody clue what it is. But it's been inculcated into them in the curricula of all these different places, these different universities, Howard Zinn textbooks and so forth, and on we go. So that to me is the first part of the answer to your question, and that is communist Marxist indoctrination in our public school system, but not only public, but certainly at the university level, and on down through the grades, even to high school and below. So that's the first part of it. The second part of it that I see is the fact that the Muslim Brotherhood has gotten such a presence and a foothold on the campuses of our universities. Now, folks might know that the Muslim Brotherhood made its first presence, arrival into the United States post World War II. I think I've mentioned this before. There's a old black and white photograph online of a delegation of the Muslim Brotherhood led by Syed Ramadan. That's the son-in-law of Hassan al-Banna, the founder, 1928 founder of the Muslim Brotherhood. That photograph online is of that delegation of Muslim brothers in the Oval Office with then President Dwight D. Eisenhower. So that's how early the Brotherhood was here in America. Fast forward to 1964, and that's the year when the Muslim Brotherhood established its first front group on the campuses called the Muslim Students Association. And it was on the campus of the University of Illinois, Champaign-Urbana campus. And from there, the MSA chapters spread all over America. To this day, they're on practically every college campus and university in the country, with, of course, certain notable exceptions. So that plays a large part of it. And then there are other Muslim Brotherhood front groups that made their presence established on our campuses too. I'll name the Students for Justice in Palestine, very prominent in the ranks of these, pudding-headed students who don't know anything about anything, running around with their placards and signs and slogans supporting Hamas, the butchers of the Shabbat massacre on October 7. Students for Justice in Palestine is the campus branch of the American Muslims for Palestine, AMP, which itself is a Muslim Brotherhood front group and is a founding member of the USCMO, the Muslim Brotherhood's political umbrella group, if you will. USCMO stands for the United States Council of Muslim Organizations. AMP, very close to the Muslim Brotherhood government in Turkey, and the party AKP, Justice and Development Party in English, of Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan, who is very supportive of Hamas, as we have seen. So all of that I'm telling you plays into the role of where do these students on the campus get these ideas? Where, they don't know how to do research. They don't know how to look online, except the stuff that's spoon-fed to them by America-hating professors. Yeah. So they have no idea what actually is going on in the Middle East if they could find it on a map. They have no idea who Hamas is. I doubt very much that any of them have ever read the Hamas Covenant of 1988, the year that Hamas was formally established. And that covenant, might have mentioned this before, but it reads in some of the opening lines of the covenant, Israel exists and will continue to exist until Islam will obliterate it, as it has obliterated others before it. Okay, that's the Hamas covenant. I always call it covenant, not charter, because a covenant means or refers back to sort of biblical references of Abraham, in the Old Testament, the Tanakh, making a covenant with God. And so that's how Hamas thinks of its covenant with God. Arabic language for God is Allah. And so you have their purpose stated right there in the opening lines of the covenant. But, has any one of those brain dead students ever read a word of that covenant? Do they even know it exists? Do they know what Hamas, the word, the acronym actually means? HAMAS in English is the acronym for Harakat al-Muqawama al-Islamiyya. That's Arabic. And it means the Islamic Resistance Movement. That's what Hamas is. It's not a word of its own, although in the Old Testament it does appear, and the word variously means something like violence and evil. So there's that. So long way of explaining to your question, how did this happen? Where'd this come from? Combination of the red, and the black, that's the Black Lives Matter movement, Marxists, green axis, red, black, green axis in America that has established such a hold over academia and media, but not the majority of the American people. This is a phenomenon of the elite classes, if you will, the ones who've got all these letters after their name, and they think that means something. More and more, what we're realizing is that what it means is you got a piece of paper for $80,000 a year for 4 years, and you know nothing about anything. That's what that piece of paper means. Now, I don't mean to smear all U.S. universities and colleges with the same brush. There are many that would be an exception. Regent University in Virginia Beach is one of those. Hillsdale College is another one of those up in Michigan. Liberty here in Virginia, another one, and many more that I'm leaving out, and apologies. But you know, over too much of an expanse of academia in America today, this is the reality. Now, I'll give you just one real quick positive note on which to end all of this, and that is that many of the big donors to some of these Ivy League universities are themselves Jewish, and they have been very generous over the
Mm.
years in donating to the endowments of these different schools, Harvard and Yale and Princeton and who knows what else. And they're backing off. They're very publicly making statements now. No, this is not what we're paying for. This is not why we sent this money to your endowment. That is going to stop. And they are stopping their donations. And I would suggest that alumni of all of these places where there have been such, you know, anti-Semitic, Jew-hating demonstrations and you know, threats against Jewish students that they can't even feel safe on campus, that you alumni of all these places, you know, let your school know why you are stopping any further donations as of today until the Jew hatred on campus stops.
Mm. Yeah, it's, I mean, the most easy layup I always just look at is you know, Islam as it's really painted it not painted itself, it's proven itself to be a barbaric medieval death cult at best. And
You know, I would jump in if I might,
go
excuse
for
me,
it.
but really
Obviously that's
quickly
not
here,
for everyone, yeah.
I've heard many talk about Islam as a death cult, and I would say no, it's not a death cult. It's a cult of immortality. Why? Because what these jihadis seek, and in particular, if they wage violent jihad to become shahid, in other words, dying in the act of
Mm-hmm.
jihad, of killing the rest of us infidels, what they actually seek and what they are promised and what they believe is awaiting them is eternity in paradise with Allah.
Mm.
But plus the 72 virgins and little
Mm-hmm.
boys, if that's their thing,
Yeah.
and sweet flowing water and sweet air, and also you get to skip the torments of the grave, which are a really bad thing,
Mm-hmm.
you know, that are taught to scare little kids from the earliest grades. And you get to broker in 70 of your closest
Family members,
relatives
yeah.
to paradise, eternity in paradise, who also get to skip the torments of the grave. So for them, death is the doorway. It's not the
Yeah.
objective. It's not the objective. It's the doorway to immortality. And then in a twofer, you know, they also get to think and believe, I guess, you know, that their acts of jihad and dying as a shahid contribute in some way to making Islam immortal here on earth too.
Hmm.
So it's not a cult of death at all. It's a cult of immortality. Misbegotten, I mean, misdirected, anything you want to say, but that's what they believe.
Sure. Well, back on Earth, I mean, you know, the therapist, the two therapists I saw for years after my brother died, they were both, I mean, almost comically the two most Jewish women in the world.
Mm-hmm.
And they have had such a profound effect on my life. And I can only draw from those experiences. And, you know, two of my good friends from college who are both Jewish. I've had, if I have to choose, I would say I've had nothing but incredible experiences. But I also just look at it just in a vacuum, and not even, you know, I'm a more conservative guy, but even just to walk it out, if you wanted to entertain the idea of, you know, coexisting and, you know, that's not my cup of tea, but go for it. You can't do that in you can't do that in an Islamic country. You will. I
No.
mean, okay, here it'd be like, okay, I'm a straight white guy. I'm 33. You're gay. Go for a bud. You do that over there. I mean, you will quite literally end up on a Grady Live Leak
Well, I
video.
mean, here's the thing about the lack of knowledge on the part of so many, including, the Puddinghead students on campus. They don't know what Islam really is. There is something called the Hudud crimes and punishments, and they come directly out of the Quran, and that's what makes them obligatory and fixed in Islamic law, in Sharia. And among other things, hudud crimes which call for the death penalty, impose, obligate the death penalty, include apostasy. That would be rejecting Islam after you are already Muslim, and being a homosexual, just being, not doing anything, just being a homosexual. Now, there are other hudud crimes like highway robbery and some other things, but those two right there, no freedom of religion. If you choose to leave Islam and convert to Christianity, or just leave religion altogether, that's a capital crime under Islam. And so, yeah, if all these LMNOP alphabet soup people were to go over to Gaza or Afghanistan or Somalia or some other place under Islamic law, Iran, it would not go so well for them. But they have no idea, and it's almost, I don't want to say comical, but it's tragic to see all these marchers in the streets with these signs and placards and multicolored flags and queers for Hamas. They have no idea what would happen to them if they actually were in Gaza with that.
Yeah,
No,
rabbis for Hitler,
they'd be
like,
dead. They'd be
no,
dead.
and I mean, and not like, oh, you'd get beat up or something. The things they accuse conservatives of. I mean, you will be
Executed. You
beheaded.
will be
You
executed.
will your blood will run on the streets. This isn't some like
Yeah,
hypothetical. I mean,
it's
everyone's
law. It's
yeah,
fixed
it's
law. And the
yeah,
reason it's fixed law is because it comes out of the Quran, which is believed to be the literal word of God,
yeah,
Allah.
and it's like there is no. I mean, you saw it on 9/11. You saw it on October 7th. Like, they're showing you who they are, man. Like, there is no. These aren't hypotheticals.
No,
But this
no,
is there's we must stop Israel's genocide and terrorism. But what are they doing? Well, they're attacking Gaza. Why? Though they don't it hasn't even been a month, and
no.
they can't bring it up. Well, Gaza was responding to, or Palestine or whatever, they're responding to oppression. They're responding to settlements. No, this is the necessary response,
Yeah.
is to
Well, I mean, number
demolish it.
one, there has not been an official Jewish presence in Gaza since 2005, when then Prime Minister of Israel, Ariel Sharon, withdrew everybody out of Gaza, all the homes, all the synagogues, they dug up the cemeteries and brought the bodies of buried deceased Jews back to Israel.
I didn't know that.
Yes. And so there is no occupation of Gaza by anyone except Hamas itself. But here's something else that I was going to suggest for the pudding heads on campus, and their professors, their teachers, the deans, and the presidents of these universities. The IDF has spliced together a number of horrific videos that were taken by GoPro cameras that the Hamas jihadis wore during their rampage. And the reason that they're available is that they were uploaded immediately to Hamas social media sites like Telegram. So as they were committing their atrocities, murdering, torturing, beheading babies, putting a baby in the oven, I don't even want to talk about the rest of it. They filmed it, and themselves laughing and enjoying themselves. They filmed it and they uploaded it to social media. The IDF spliced together, as I said, those videos, many of them. And earlier this past week, first showed I guess you'd call it a montage of the videos, maybe, to a bunch of journalists in Israel. And just, I don't know, yesterday or maybe it was the day before, showed the films in the Knesset, the Israeli parliament. And in both cases, people were so overcome with revulsion, and they were crying, they were vomiting on the floor, and they had to leave the room because it was just so awful. I want those videos to be shown on every campus in America, the colleges and the universities, with compulsory student body attendance, all the teachers, all the professors, all the deans, and all the presidents. They sit in a room and they watch these videos.
Yeah. And it's all the cheering for it can happen in the absence of those. The people that don't cheer for it are the people who have watched those videos and
Yeah.
see just how there is no other word for it. It's barbary. There is not a place in 2023 for that. This isn't agree to disagree. What do you do with a cancer? You get chemotherapy or you remove the body part. That's what this is it's a cancer.
Yeah.
There is no, you cannot negotiate with it. There is nothing to do with it. It has to be excised. And if you don't, it's just going to keep coming back again and again and again.
Yeah.
And that's all that's going to happen. And I don't understand how really anyone in the United States can look at our response to 9/11 and 20 years later, hindsight's 2020, you can look at everything. Oh, maybe you shouldn't have done this or that or whatever. You can't look at any of that and then right now, not even 30 days later, scold. Can you imagine if someone not even 30 days later, so what would it be from 4 days? So this would be if somebody on actually September 11th, 20, that'd be October 7th. If somebody on October 7th, 2001, can you imagine somebody scolding the United States?
Well, Prime Minister of Israel, Benjamin Netanyahu, has been speaking on numbers of occasions, of course, to the people of Israel before since October the 7th. But in one of his speeches that I saw earlier this week, again a little bit, maybe a couple days ago, he said exactly what you just said, Tommy. He said, would anybody in their right minds have ever imagined after Pearl Harbor or after 9/11 that somebody would tell America, well, let's just negotiate. Let's have a ceasefire. No, it wouldn't have. The entire world rallied to our side. I mean, of course, except the jihadis, but the rest of the civilized world rallied to America, as we must be rallying to the side of Israel.
And I keep using this, and there is only one method and one goal that you can have when you are interacting with a group of people that do these attacks, 9/11, Pearl Harbor, whatever. And it's in World War II, what the United States called unconditional surrender. No, there's no, we'll hash it out. Like, no, unconditional.
You know what?
Yeah.
Even better, no unconditional surrender, because there's nobody left to surrender. They're gone.
Well, I'm more on that side.
Finished.
I'm with you on that side. I think we should have kept nuking, but that's neither here nor there. That's my. But again, so even there, like I have to look at the logic of this. Is my dad's dad was 18 and was going to be part of the mainland invasion of Japan. There is no. I can't debate the merits of should we or should we not have nuked. Basic logic. Just like you can't go back in time and kill your grandpa because then you wouldn't. It doesn't work. It rationally doesn't work. I can't argue against it because I would be dead and I wouldn't be here to make an argument for. I wouldn't be here to make an argument for or against it. The argument itself would poof. It would vanish. It's dividing by zero. It's the sound of one hand clapping. It doesn't exist. So I can't look at a group of people who will categorize homosexuality simply existing as a capital punishment. You can't The argument does not exist. You cannot be for or against it because you are not allowed to be. It doesn't. And when you're dealing with that, you have to realize you're not dealing with logic for the same reason. If you type in any number divided by 0, the calculator just says error.
Mm.
There is nothing to compute. There is nothing to talk about. So unconditional surrender at best. No, there should be nothing left. And that's what it is. Because if they had their way, there would be nothing left of you. Just is what it is. And I guess I went down a rabbit hole yesterday and the day before. I was watching all these 1980s movies of like nuclear war. I watched The Day After.
Oh, uplifting.
Yeah, I watched Threads. I'd always heard about him because I know Reagan watched The Day After while in office, and that actually influenced some
Well, I
of
read that book.
Okay. Yeah, and it's man, really watching that, I just kind of I was like, really the gravity of nuclear war, and then
Or an
realizing
EMP strike,
or anything.
electromagnetic pulse strike, which
Oh
is what
yeah, no,
the book
yeah.
is about.
And then realizing, hey man, if Israel is nice and wasn't mean, they would never have attacked these nuclear sites. They would have never prevented this stuff. And the thing about these nukes is it doesn't matter if they're Russian or Chinese or American or from Hamas. They all trip the same base cataclysmic cascading global thermonuclear hell. You really can't ask permission. That's kind of what my takeaway was applying it to today's events or the last month's events. You can't apply logic to it. You can't ask whether or not this is good or bad or whether or not a bunch of as you said pudding heads are going to approve of it or disapprove of it. When it's an existential threat, you just have to go do it.
You know what I would say, though? This is absolutely a battle between good and evil.
Yes.
Caroline Glick makes this point in her talks, her videos in recent days, and I've heard her say this over and over. She's right. This is about good versus evil, civilization versus savagery, and there's just no, as you say, there's no ambiguity about it. The side of good has to take up arms and eradicate the evil. That's the only answer.
And if you don't, then you don't deserve to survive. I mean, if you go back and look at like the POW rates in World War II of being captured by the Americans or the Germans or the Italians and then the Japanese, it was so much more preferable to be caught by Nazis than it was the Japanese because they would just light GIs on fire. They would just chop off their genitals. There was nothing, and that always comes back to nuke them. How do you deal with a rabid dog? You establish dominance. You crack it on the head. You can't. There is no talking to it. It's a dog, and it is what it is. And
Well, and if it's rabid,
yeah, no. And again,
which
that's
is
best.
not curable, you can't
No.
fix that.
Well, and and then the analogy does work, and it's best case scenario, crack them on the head. You should shoot them. That's what it is, and I don't think that we can argue, especially as a nation, myself included, where service is not compulsory. There is nothing. There is no relation to the state of Israel in terms of compulsory. 2 years in the IDF? You can't still have living Holocaust survivors. There is nothing in the United States. I mean, God bless, but we are so separated from that we can't. There are no repercussions to the actions. You're allowed to just take whatever is the edgiest slogan and say queers for Hezbollah, whatever you want, whatever gets you the most social justice points. If you ever had to go interact with reality, you would be executed in the street. And there is no argument. It's not hypothetical. As you're saying, we on GoPros. They didn't do it in hiding. This wasn't covert. This was look at me. And I guess, it's rabid dogs. I have absolutely no sympathy. I have less than zero sympathy. And if that makes me an Israeli sympathizer, then you're goddamn right. That's what I am. This is this is savagery. This is fucking barbary. This is cancer. You excise cancer or you bury the loved one with cancer. It's what it is. That's what do you do with an irradiated corpse? You have to put it in a lead coffin. There is nothing. You can't talk with this. And yeah, I guess that's kind of how I look at it. Is it's just moving from edgy slogan and Trump is a Nazi and all the, hands off my body, and how they can even say in the same breath, Republicans want to take us back to the medieval ages, yeah, get your hands off my body. And then in the same breath, talk about the Zionist oppressors. It doesn't, what are you talking about? So I don't know. I'm supposed to be resting, Claire. Now I'm getting all revved up. This is your fault.
You are. Sorry about that, but I do hope you can rest up. Go
I,
ahead.
I will. But yeah, Ms. Lopez, I say we wrap it up. I think it's fair to say you and I are on the same page here, and
Definitely.
we're not convincing each other. For all I know, we're not even live. It's just you and I talking. But yeah, man, that's what it is, and it's yeah, it's I don't even mind. I don't even mind all the crazy hippie shit. Like whatever, you're allowed to say and go do whatever you want. But yeah, I mean, all these things are being said from the safety of Fortress America. Like, you're not to go march around at Ivy League schools and attack Jewish students.
Yeah, I mean, not to end on a real downer note, but given our wide open southern border of the last 2.5, almost 3 years,
I wouldn't say it's Fortress
combine that
America.
with the Department of Defense airlift of jihadi Afghans and some others out of Afghanistan back in 2021, they're here.
Yeah.
They're already here.
Yeah.
And I cannot imagine, that they are not taking advantage of these chances to get inside of Fortress America. We're not Fortress America anymore. They're here. And these jihadi attacks will happen.
Yeah.
But we need to be ready for that, knowing that that's what's going to happen, knowing that that's what they want to do, intend to do, plan to do. Be ready for that.
Nature will correct. It will overcorrect. And yeah, we'll see how popular it is to wave around a Queers for Palestine flag. But what do I know? Miss Claire Lopez, thank you for your time. As always, thank you for coming on here. Guys,
Thank
please
you.
go into the description. Please go follow Miss Lopez on Twitter. She's holding it down on Twitter. I am permanently banned from Twitter, so I don't care anymore. I don't care. I am gonna go lay down. Miss Lopez, thank you for your time. Till next time.
Thank you. Take it easy.
Yes, man. Thank you so much, guys. Thank you for watching.